National Assembly, please. Stay standing. Shall we take the opening prayer, please? Is it able?
Father, we thank you for a day like this, a day you have designed for your children to come to making Edo forward, making Edo great again. Today we are addressing the professionals. We pray with them the best out of them as the governor himself has
Nigerian Institute of Quality Surveyors, Dr. Paul Ogbiti and Dr. C.P. Ogbu, you are welcome. National Association of Patent. Welcome, His Excellency, the Governor. Osarojo Oge, Esquire, and of the Transition Committee, Anthony Okumbawa, Esquire. Nigerians that are here this morning, please put your hands together for him. The International Nigerian Institute of Builder of ASUS, Academic Staff Union of Secondary Schools, presented by Dr. B.O. Ademila, J.O. You're welcome. Titus Ahigbe, the secretary, is here, and Adesuwa, Performing Musician Employers Association, Arugie, Lucky, secretary, Oregbe Omorodio, and Comrade Daniel Saga, as Chief Odion Olaye, Chairman, and Felix Igbelowa, SD, State Secretary. You are welcome. Iyama Ihige, and Dr. Edogawere, Chairman, and Blessing, Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, Imaruwe, okay, Dr. Oamen John, and Dr. Saigbovo, Grand Nurses and Midwives, CO Esene, Chapman Boy, Chairman, Architect VI, Nigeria Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, OM, Nigeria Society of Engineers, Engineer Alhaji Yahaya Sule, Chairman, Linus Ola, you're welcome. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I'd like to invite the presentation by the Transition Committee.
I'm sure there's no guest here who is uninvited. This is the third in the series of interactive sessions and engagements that as a committee and as government, we are having with members of the public, particularly our stakeholders in the governance process. Mr. Governor has repeatedly said that as a government, we must ensure that the people are involved in every process of government, because governance and government are about the people. And I'm sure that this is what the draftsman of the Constitution in Section 14, subsection 2, paragraph A. Paragraph B is what is commonly quoted: security and welfare shall be the purpose, primary purpose. But paragraph A says sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government, through this Constitution, derives all its powers and authority. So the whole thing is about the people. And Mr. Governor has repeatedly said that for every process of government, government must make sure that the people are involved. And so that's the essence of what we are doing today. I'll be doing a presentation shortly with the permission of Mr. Governor. I'll be telling you about why the committee was set up in the first place, what it was meant to achieve, how much of that we've achieved, what message does the government intend to pass across to us. I'm sure one of the messages will be what I'm wearing today, data to mega. I'm sure you would like to hear that. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you. I want to plead with you to not only listen, but to internalize the message that we're going to give, and not just that, to spread it far and near. As the Bible says, say it in Gad, say it on the streets of Ashkelon. So thank you and welcome. God bless you. So with your permission, Your Excellency, I will just go to the presentation. It was inaugurated by Mr. Governor on the 9th of October 2020. The members are as follows. Please just flip through that. Go up. Okay, the mandate of the committee is in three folds. First, to take stock of the last administration's activities. By the last administration, I mean the first tenure of Mr. Governor. Over the last 4 years, including the set targets, achievements, and challenges. Two, to set an agenda for the incoming administration, taking cognizance of ongoing projects, proposed developmental and transformational programs, and electioneering campaign promises. And let me just quickly say that for the first time in the history of our state, we had a gubernatorial aspirant who was governor, sitting governor, who went through the 192 wards of the state in campaigning. And not only did that, ensured that every promise that he made was recorded and put in a formal form. Then to produce a comprehensive report for reference purposes. And then to those three can be added a fourth, which is that the committee had the mandate of interacting with MDAs. By MDAs, I mean ministries, departments, and agencies of government, and other institutions towards achieving the foregoing. Please just run through. Okay, the committee broke into subcommittees. Of course, you know that in the first term, we had an ideological fulcrum for the policies of government, which was expressed in the 6 thematic pillars, which will have the institutional reform, social welfare enhancement, infrastructure development, environmental sustainability, culture and tourism, and economic revolution. So we broke down the committee along these lines. Please go on. Now, Mr. Governor identified, you recall that in his inauguration speech, the very first promise Mr. Governor made is to develop and enhance and transform the public service. And Mr. Governor identified the civil public service as a fulcrum of development, a veritable instrument to deliver good governance to the people. He also identified the need to strengthen the public service so it can effectively play that role. At the moment, the public service is weak. Of course, a lot has been done and are still being done towards improving on the public service and incapable of delivering on this mandate. Go on. Now, I'd like to just present this first so you can see what we're talking about. Now, today, in the public service, we have a total of 33,417 persons. 33,417 persons. Please go on. Now, the total cost of payment of salaries and allowances is nearly 22 billion naira yearly. And of course, on the whole, including pensions, is nearly 40 billion. Now, the age profile of the public service, right now, we have a service that is aging. A service where there are more people in between 45 and 60. So it's a service that is, the personnel, getting old and then aging and on their way out. Now, right now, we have 94 MDAs. So from these facts, you will find that 3 issues predominantly arise. First, the cost of personnel payment, is it justified? What value is government getting for the huge expense on salaries and allowances? Can the service be made more productive to secure the interest of the public? Let's go on. And then on the MDAs, do we really need 94 MDAs? How do we achieve a lean government without sacrificing quality? Can we merge MDAs and still achieve the same or better output? Then is the service understaffed in terms of quality and quantity? What critical injections do we need to make into the personnel profile of the service? So these are things that have engaged government's attention, and the committee, of course, has been working assiduously together with the consultant who has been engaged to midwife this process. Now, we found that over the years, people were just brought into the service, not because they deserve to be here, but on account of who they knew. Of course, now, before now, it used to be that who you knew in government was the reason, why people came into government. So it was not merit-based at all before now. Now, Mr. Governor decided that never again would that happen in the public service of Edo State. I thought we should applaud him for this. So those challenges, how is government addressing them? We shall come back to this. Let's go on. Now, the committee has worked for the past 6 months and has had interactions with virtually all MDAs. making up the systematic pillars. The committee has also, in line with this mandate, identified policy and strategy issues that should engage the attention of the political class when they come into government. Next slide, please. Of course, the committee has also made recommendations on sundry public issues requiring the attention of government, but has paid particular attention to institutional reforms in the public service in the bid to strengthen it as a fulcrum of governance. You know, Mr. Governor has repeatedly said that the public service is the fulcrum, the engine room, the engine of governance. And so, if the engine is strong, of course, governance will also be strong, the vehicle will be strong. Government has made far-reaching efforts throughout the first tenure of this administration towards strengthening institutions by way of reform. There is an ongoing reform initiative being undertaken in the civil and public service aimed at changing the narratives in the public service and enhancing its performance. Before now, it used to be the case that our people in service would say, government work, now shoulder, neither they put them. So when it's too heavy, you just let it go. That narrative is changing. Now, right now, we are doing massive recruitment of personnel, and that's ongoing, to plug identified personnel gaps in the public service. Merit is the underlying consideration, and it's important I stressed it. 2 days ago, some reporters came to interview me, and they said something that was quite instructive. They said, HOS, in university administration, when admission is going on, you have the VC list, you have different kinds of lists. When will other lists come out? Apart from the one that is ongoing, I said, look, there's only one list in this process, and that list is called the merit list. Mr. Governor told me something very, very instructive. He said, look, in my family, it's a big family. In my family, I probably have up to 1,000 people who are unemployed. We have 1,500 or more spaces that are available to bring people in. If I give 1,000 to my people, how many will be left for others? So that is the way we have approached this. And by the grace of God, things are going on well. The narratives are changing. Now, in addition to the above, other far-reaching policies and strategies aimed at making Edo great again are being developed for implementation by the incoming cabinet. Next slide. The public service is being repositioned, prepared and professionalized to serve the interests of the public. The public service must be citizen-centric. The whole thing is about the public. How is government achieving this? I talked about recruitment. 1,594 persons across all cadres are to be brought on board to fill critical vacancies within the next 3 months by the grace of God. In the civil service, core civil service, we have about 608 vacancies and 900 public service. Recruitment at the moment. Service, interviews at the moment. And for the public service, we're just doing the testing, computer-based testing. I said that before, only one list, that's the merit list. The survival of the public service is at stake. Government worked in the past, especially in the First Republic, because the public service worked. I'm just quoting Mr. Governor. And so it's important that going forward, the public service must be strengthened so that it can serve as that instrumentality of government through which government can deliver to the people quality governance. That's the whole essence of what Mr. Governor is doing. There have been difficult decisions to take, but Mr. Governor has shown the courage to take those decisions, and we have no choice than to follow suit. Now, maybe you do not know, right now, Mr. Governor has directed that about, 64 first-class holders, I think it's about 54, brought in. 64, sir? Okay, have been brought in. That is just to strengthen the civil service. The civil service before now, the public service was ignored and disregarded, by first-class graduates. But what are we doing? We're bringing them, we're giving them this almost automatically. We should also go doing that. That's the future that's being done. Now, like I said, it's entirely, we're lean government, we're streamlining ministries and departments and agencies, we're collapsing some, we're creating some more ministries and agencies, for instance, the Transportation Ministry, the Commission, but the objectives are 3. 1, to avoid duplication and overlaps in mandate roles and responsibilities. to refine the service for improved efficiency and effective service delivery, and to high-grade them. Next slide, please. The essence is to make government more effective. At the background, we are moving officers who have certain kinds of degrees currently in areas where their degrees are not useful to government and to them, and putting them where they'll be more useful to themselves and to government. Training and retraining. Of course, this structure. We're discussing just some few days ago with my colleagues who are heads of service in other states of the Federation. There is no facility like this anywhere in the South-South and the whole of the South. First class. Developing scorecards. That is what we're also doing. We're sitting down to engage our people. In fact, this whole process is what we call in law autonomous process, homegrown. We are making them develop KPIs for themselves, what they are going to do, and then committing them to ensuring that these KPIs are kept. And at the end of every quarter, we sit with them, we discuss how far we have gone with achieving these milestones that we set for ourselves. And then everybody can see for himself whether he has performed well or has not performed well. Go on. So going forward, promotion in service will no longer be automatic. It has to be earned. You must work for it. You must be able to say as a public servant that I came to work today, I worked to earn my pay. Not just that, others are earning money and I'm also earning money because, I'm a civil servant, they are also civil servants. It won't be like that anymore. It used to be the case that when your mates were promoted in service, you were also promoted. That we are changing. That narrative is changing. Promotion has become as and when due. In fact, as we speak, for the first time in the history of this state, the 2020 promotion, that's last year's promotion, has been approved by the governor. Ratification of promotion after retirement, of course, that's one thing that has also been done. Before now, government was not promoting as and when due. But, promotions have a lot to do, first, with the fact that people take some money from promotions, genuinely. And then secondly, for every civil servant who retires, it is his last grade level that he takes home in terms of retirement benefits and all that. For some time, government was not doing it, before now, as and when due. But more than that, government also stopped people who, unfortunately, through no fault of theirs, were not promoted while they were in service, but after they had gone, even though they earned the promotion already, when the promotion letters were given or brought out, they were excluded because they had retired. So Mr. Governor said, no, that's not right. Though we are making efforts to ensure that promotions are as and when due, but for those who earned their promotion before their retirement, we must give it to them. And so government directed that that be done, and that has been done. We're also working on executive compensation package and review of duty to allowance. Do you know that, Mr. Governor was shocked to hear this, that some people still take 2,500 naira as DTA to travel, sometimes to Abuja. So how do they fare? So Mr. Governor has directed the review of DTA for all categories of public servants across the board. The committee has worked with the consultant appointed by government to undertake this process, and we are glad to report that the effort, which has been quite extensive, is yielding positive fruit. Next slide. People voted massively for this administration. And like Mr. Governor will say, this administration cannot afford to fail them. I don't know how many of you saw pictures of people who couldn't walk, but they were carried on the backs of their children to go and vote for the governor. How many of us saw that? So Mr. Governor believes, and his team believes, that we cannot afford as a people to fail our people. Government can no longer afford to be run in a manner that excludes the people from the decisions of government. Government is about the people and not the people in power. Next slide. The people for whom government exists must have more than a passing interest in governance and must have a buy-in into it and own it. That's the real essence why we're all here. And that's the message we want to pass across. People can no longer afford to not bother about the processes of government. We must be involved in it. We must own government because government, we elected government into power and must be interested in the processes and what government does. The bureaucracy and indeed government must be such a leader and interest people. The civil will be strengthened to power the initiatives of government in a way that can attract and sustain positive public interest. There's a need to build institutions rather than individuals. I said that before. The groups in focus. This is actually the third in the series of conversations we'll be having with interest groups and with stakeholders. I've had one with the political class, although that one is yet in COID. We've also had one with the women group. This is the third. The purpose of the engagement is to have interactions with your group and others and to seek their input in developing the governance framework to address identified problems. The intention is to obtain needed feedback from the public, in particular your group, to strengthen governance. Now, there is need for a paradigm shift in political participation and governance. There has to be a new way of doing things. All that you will hear in the course of this talk. Stakeholder interest in governance must align with the interests of the people. It must be thoroughly citizen-centric and service-driven. Promises made must be fulfilled. Sacrifices are demanded of everyone in government, and out of it, professional groups must show interest in governance. Conclusion. Making Edo great again is achievable with the support and cooperation of professional groups and other stakeholders. The committee's assignment is to prepare the grounds for effective takeoff of government. The commitment of this group and other groups across the state to the success of MEGA should be in supporting the ongoing reform process. And that's what we call upon you to do. With your commitment and that of the reform bureaucracy, added to the passion and commitment of Mr. Governor and Deputy Governor, we shall have resounding success in making Edo great again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Transformation. I'd like to request, has spoken to a while ago. Please put your hands together for Comrade Isako.
Would not go so high up. We would like to be on government and to ask that my beautiful presentation. Thank you, sir. Dealing with professionals in Edo State, their representatives are us. You are very busy people to be here. And then we insisted that that one member must be a woman. I realized, and it's one of the things that we must begin to change going forward. Let me also commend all of you for abiding by the COVID, that Corona never go. While we thank God for the fact that, but we must not lose sight of the fact that ultimately it's our responsibility to have insisted here that there must be a space between two persons seated. And I'd like to, as my chairman, the HOS, mentioned, this is the third in the series of engagements. It was necessary that this engagement should start with political leaders. First, because they also want to come in and do their work. Second, because they are actually the custodian. So we have met with the political leaders. We have met with the women groups. This is the third. And you are the professionals that we're meeting with. Your Excellency, our meeting here is going to be slightly different from the previous two we had. In the previous two, we were more focused on informing our invitees. But on this particular one, we're actually going to elicit from the people we have invited. This meeting is crucial, first because it is difficult to count. Let's say we have 100 people working for the Edo State government in the civil and public sector. It's difficult to have 10 who do not belong to one association here or the other. Am I right? So what you have done as professional associations is that you have donated your members to government, to work with government for the benefit of the entire state. To that extent, therefore, it will be foolhardy, having sent your members into government, not to continue to play certain roles. So one of the reasons we are here today, we need to re-examine these roles. As professional associations, what role should you play and continue to play? What influence, in what way do you influence and continue to influence your members who are working for government? If they err, for instance, do you have a way of disciplining them? If they do well, do you have a way of commending them? Beyond that, what inputs should professional associations make into government and governance? Those who call for aristocracy long ago, and people are still yearning for aristocracy, made that call because of the general belief that only the best, only the most educated, only the most exposed should actually carry on the reins of government and governance. So we tend to send in our best, our first 11. So you are professionals. So if you have a permanent secretary, for instance, in the Ministry of Health, who is a doctor, and therefore a member of the Nigerian Medical Association, what influence do you wield? How do you contribute to making him do better in government and governance, which will be a credit to you as an association? These are some of the questions we are going to ask as we get along. Let me prepare your mind that we have certain feedback forms. And I'd like to call on two of our beautiful women in the transition committee to give them. Madam Pierce, are you coming to give them out? Please sit down. Sit down, please. Your professional association, I saw them just now. MBA, they are here. It's possible that some of you belong to more than one or two professional associations. We will do this at transition committee. Mrs. Ihenye and Dr. Nosa Aladeshelo, please come forward. We are the ones doing this, so let's serve them. Let's celebrate these women. Otherwise, there are very beautiful women. We have them in abundance. It is such as ours, where there is so much mediocrity, and that mediocrity can be easily disseminated. So we spread so much ignorance because of the liberalism in the social media. There's been a lot of talk that the governor of Edo State has refused to make appointments. And what are these appointments they are talking about? Commissioners. They say there are no commissioners. The commissioners are supposed to come and lead or head ministries. And we have mentioned that if there is anybody who should know what the problems of a system are, it should be those who have passed through that system. The governor ran this state for 4 years. Now, you know the story. All the goings on in those 4 years. In fact, some people wonder how it was possible to even engender governance because of the political intrigues. Usually is that the manner in which people come into government, the manner in which politicians, because if they serve meritoriously, is a credit to your association. Please feel free to fill these ones. If the papers are not enough, we have papers, we will send them round, and then we are going to screen them, analyze them, and bring out the points and give to government for purpose of implementation. So, our interactive session today will be very robust. Perhaps the governor will step in first, or he wants to listen to you first, so that you can now field questions and make clarifications. His Excellency will decide the way we should go. We didn't think we would spend this much time on this session, but because, and I underlined it, because of the fact that this is the creme de la creme of society, and you have the capacity to escalate what we do here today to your membership through your channels, we are convinced that we are talking to a large section of Edo people. Once again, God bless you.
Take the His Excellency. Would like to speak to the issues? No. All right. May we now invite His Excellency, the Chief Visionary, making Edo great again, a man with the Midas touch, Governor Godwin Obaseki.
Philip Schreiber, the Secretary to the Government of Edo State, Barrister Ogie, the Head of Service, Mr. Antonio Kubawa, distinguished members of our Transition Committee, IDEA and leaders of associations who are here today. Welcome you to the John Odige Oyegun Public Service Academy, and to thank you for taking time out to come and listen to us this morning. You are all very busy people, and for you to spare time means that you have placed some value and some premium on what we're going to be doing here today. Quite a lot has been said this morning, and I'm not going to try and repeat what has been said by members of the Transition Committee. But just to try to reiterate, let us try to see government from a different perspective. What is the role of government? It's clearly to help provide services to our people by helping just plan and put in mechanisms to regulate how people live and conduct their businesses. And also have a system where we continue to monitor, see what is going on, do a review, and then evaluate, and then affect that plan. So if things are not going well this way, and we've looked at what we've done, and we then put in place a system where we can now improve on it. And the political process gives the citizens the right, the ability to undertake that evaluation themselves. So if they're not happy with what this particular government is doing, they have an option to choose somebody else to come in. That's the importance of democracy. But we had a problem in Nigeria since 1966. Because with the coming of the military into our lives and staying for such a long period of time, the whole idea of government and societal coexistence has become distorted in our country. So we are like, Tower of Babel, we're talking, but we're not communicating and we're not hearing each other. This room is made up of leaders, people who should know, people who have been trained in their various professions to lead, to help direct society. But when you sit, I'm sure when you look at all the forms you would have completed, everybody is complaining. Everybody is lamenting. So when you have a situation where the leaders are now lamenting like the ordinary people, you just pray to God. That's where we found ourselves. That we in this room today must see ourselves as leaders. And if we don't show the direction, then what will happen to the rest of our people? And particularly those who don't even have the benefits of what we have as professionals, the benefit of the training which we have received as professionals. So this whole exercise is to see how we can begin to reposition first our state and hopefully the country. The long period the military was in power, they did not have that sense of legitimacy because nobody put them there, they put themselves in there. And intermittently they undertake their coups to change. Right? So they never had that sense of legitimacy to go to the people to say, this is what we want. Particularly to even go to the people and collect taxes, because the people would have demanded and say, who put you here? We didn't put you here, so why should we pay you taxes? But fortunately for them, we found oil. So they just abandoned the people, they didn't go to the people, they just take the oil money and do what they needed to do and pretended as if there's government. That is what we carried over into our democracy. And that's why our democracy seems to be dysfunctional today. I want to put it on record that we are very, very fortunate in Edo that in this dispensation, in this republic, the elections of September 19th redefined our democracy. Because the people came out on their own and spoke. So for us, we have a sense of legitimacy. When we wake up, when we meet, when we talk, we know we are here because you wanted us to be here. Not because anybody or any groups of people decided that we should go and be there. They tried it, but the people came out and spoke. So that singular event has changed the political narrative of this country and of this state. So for us as a government to continue to behave as we used to behave before, when the circumstances that brought us into government is totally different, I think will be grossly unfair to God and to the people of Edo State. Why we are doing this. That's where the coach comes from. We are in government, you said go, you go, we go. When we went around, you told us to come back and say, this is where we are. We want you to join us to make Edo great again. But in doing so, we cannot do it ourselves. It's you that must help us to do it so. So without the commitment and collaboration of the different professional groups, there's not much we can do. Right now you see, we spend almost 40 billion naira a year paying people's salaries and all sorts of emoluments. The question is, are we getting 40 billion naira of services from them? In the past, we used to get oil revenues to pay that amount. Now, that amount they paid is from you. Therefore, should you not have an input? Should you not have a say? And that say, should it just be about criticizing the system? That say, should it not be about bringing your own professional attributes to helping the system? Truly speaking, if we do not build institutions, if we continue the old way of trying to build superstars, strong men, we will have no future. Because these strong men will go, they will die one day. Then what happens? But when you have institutions, they say, this is how we do things. This one we forbid. We don't do this. This one we do. And everybody subscribe to it. You find out that the society will move forward. People begin to behave the way that we all agreed we should behave. Not one person, nobody should be above the law. If you have something for everybody, there must be a formula, a fair formula to share it or to distribute it. Not one person have so much because of access and others don't have. That thinking must change, and that's what we are forced into. And we don't have a choice. The truth is that we don't have a choice. A few weeks ago, I made a statement, and people in all over the place, because I just laughed. Where are we today?
We don't have a choice. The money is not there again as it used to be. The money is somewhere else. The money is with you. It's with Nigerians. Nigerians have more money than Nigeria. It's the money of Nigerians that will develop Nigeria. We can't afford to ignore Nigerians. It's the money of Edo people that will develop Edo. Edo people have much more money than the government of Edo. I tell you, even with COVID last year, the remittances that came into this country, Nigeria, was almost $20 billion. Edo must be one of its that account for the largest amounts of remittances. Assume that we only account for 5% of the remittances that come into Nigeria. 5% of 20 is what? You say? 1.5? Huh? Who are the mathematicians here? 1 billion. Assume 5%, which is very, very, very conservative. It's more like maybe 10%. 10% of 20 is like $2 billion a year. At today's exchange rate, how much is that? That is about 500 plus 500, right? 1 trillion is about what comes in from private individuals. What is the total budget of the state? Less than 200 billion. So the people clearly have more money. All the houses you see being built, is it from government treasury? It's from people's efforts. So why should you not carry those people along? Why should those people not be an integral part of government? Can anybody build a house in this town today without an architect? Or without a surveyor? Is it possible? Yeah, maybe some people do it illegally, but it's not supposed to be. That's what your law says. So, are you critical to service delivery in this state? Without you, there will be no service delivery. But when you don't take an interest, and everybody just say, okay, what can I get for myself? Nobody is taking care of us. Nobody is interested in standards. We all have our own professional standards and professional ethics. We say, no. If it's affecting this person, do it like this. That is what has brought us here. So this afternoon's conversation is, look, it's not about not knowing what to do. The skills, the resources to move us from where we are now to where we should be is abundant. I see it, and I can tell you very, very clearly. We have more than enough. But do we have the right mindset to explore and exploit these resources we have for our own growth? Is it not a crime that we send our children abroad to receive education when we have some of the finest educationists in the world in this country? Many of us here today, did we have to go abroad to receive the education to be in the professions we're in? But when nobody cares, you have a university where the standards are almost, nil, and nobody complains. Everybody says government. How? How is it going to work? So today, I've come here. I'm not going to go into the details of what government is doing or what it can do. Government can do so much. And you've seen what we've tried to do with the little we have. And I know how much more we can to achieve. But we will not be able to if we continue with the attitudes we have now. Particularly you, the professionals. You see something going wrong, you see something that's against your ethics, but nobody speaks up. They say it's politics. Oh, it's affecting my own people, or, so except that changes and commitment, it's not going to work. The attitude from now on is, and the reason why we've called you, is that I don't want to hear what has Edo done for me, or what can Edo do for me. No. It is, what can I do now to make Edo great again? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please put your hands together once again for His Excellency.